Hello, everybody. It's good to talk to you again. I just wonder if you sometimes think about what God has to say to us. Sometimes I wonder, what on earth does he think about me? I look at my lovely husband and say, sometimes, I don't know how you put up with me. We can be difficult, can't we? We're human beings, and we are human. We do err. So sometimes I wonder what God thinks about things that I do and say, and I laugh at funny things, but I've come to talk to you today about questions God could ask us, and I think sometimes does. The first one is, will you believe that I love you without any reservation? Will you trust me? Will you believe in your own worth? Will you walk with insecurity for a while? Will you believe that I'm inviting you to greater wholeness? Will you allow my grace to move within you? Will you give me your life? Will you look long at my love for you? Will you take refuge in the shadow of my wings? Isn't that a lovely phrase? Taking shelter in the shadow of his wings. What a lovely picture that comes to mind. Will you allow me to walk with you? Will you allow me to talk about what is difficult for you? Will you say yes to the growth I offer you? Will you accept my compassion? Will you share the strength I've given you with someone else? Will you be quiet enough to hear me? Sometimes we're just not quiet enough, are we? We shut out his voice. Will you recognize your own weak areas? Will you bring me your anxieties and concerns? Will you place your hand in mine? Isn't it lovely when you're lonely and a bit upset to place your hand in someone else's hand? And the picture of that being God holding your hand, isn't that wonderful? Will you let me be your strength? Will you be vulnerable with me? Will you give me your ache so that I can heal you? Will you thank me for always being there for you? Will you trust me to raise up the good things in you that have died? That sometimes happens, doesn't it? Will you stand close to Calvary and learn more from me? Will you be there for someone to lean on today? Will you believe in the power of my resurrection? Aren't those amazing questions? Isaiah 50 says, he wakens me morning by morning, wakens my ear to listen like one being taught. We need to be taught, don't we? We need to listen to his voice, and we do need to trust him. Sometimes it can be difficult, especially at this time. Some people who have lots and lots of problems, and they can't hear God's voice because the problems have overtaken their lives. It is so hard, but we're here to pray for these people, these friends of ours, aren't we? And God has taught us how to pray, and he's told us some wonderful things. Sometimes I read through a hymn that I once sung at my funeral. I'm of an age now, in my 80s, that I think, I've got to get ready for my funeral. I want to write down the hymns I want everyone to sing. I want it to be glorious, musical, enjoyable, thrilling funeral, so that you can all remember the joyous time I've had in my life and thanking God for it. And the last verse of my favourite hymn is, drop thy still dews of quietness, till all our strivings cease. Take from our souls the strain and stress, and let our ordered lives confess the beauty of thy peace. The beauty of thy peace, isn't that wonderful? Do you know, I read that and I think, oh God, you're so good to me. I don't know what I'd do without God in my life nowadays. I managed to live nearly 30 years without God in my life, but he was watching over me all that time. But I didn't know until somebody told me how important it is to tell others about God's love for you and how it's theirs for the asking. They simply have to choose God instead of choosing the world. I know that's a hard thing to say, but I'll just close with a little word of prayer now. To him who sits on the throne and to the Lamb be praise and honour and glory and power for ever and ever.